Okay, so I want you to run a little mental simulation with me. It's, say, a Tuesday night. You've just wrapped up a massive live stream,
Hmm.
maybe on LinkedIn, maybe YouTube, maybe you were hosting a Twitter space. And honestly, you crushed it.
You feeling good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The comments section was scrolling so fast you couldn't even read the names. The engagement metrics are spiking. People are dropping fire emojis. You go to bed feeling like you essentially own your niche, like a
Yeah.
rock star.
It is the specific dopamine hit of the digital age.
Mhm.
There is nothing quite like a live audience just validating your ideas in real time. It feels like victory.
Right, it feels like winning. But then Wednesday morning hits. The sun comes up. You open your laptop with your morning coffee. You check your bank account. You check your CRM or, your lead list. It's
Incredible.
a ghost town. Zero new leads. Zero revenue. The applaud was deafening last night, but the silence in your actual business operations this morning is terrifying.
It's the central paradox of the whole creator economy.
Mm.
You can be rich in attention, but completely bankrupt in conversion.
And that disconnect, that massive gap between the noise and the money is exactly what we are breaking down today. We're doing a deep dive into the work of Erica Bates, specifically her framework on architecting your revenue ecosystem.
And that word architecting is so important.
It is, because as we'll see, this isn't about marketing hacks. It's about, structural engineering for your business.
It really is. Bates argues that most of us are building structures that look beautiful from the outside but are, completely uninhabitable on the inside. So we're going to walk through her 3-layer blueprint, the porch, the foyer, and the vault, to see where the blueprints usually go wrong.
But before we start pouring the concrete, we have to look at the current state of things. Bates has a term for that creator I just described, the one with the likes but no leads.
Yeah.
She calls them the stagnant broadcaster.
Ooh. That is a label that stings a little, doesn't it?
It really does. It implies you're loud, but you aren't moving. You're just making noise in place.
And she uses this great metaphor from her mother to explain why this happens. She compares the stagnant broadcaster's business to a gazebo.
A gazebo. Okay, paint that picture for me. Why a gazebo specifically?
Well, just think about what a gazebo is for. It's an open-air structure designed for display. People can stand around it, they can look in, they can enjoy the view, watch a performance.
But it has no walls.
No walls, no kitchen, no bedroom, no locks on the doors. You can't live in a gazebo.
Right. If a storm comes, you're completely soaked. It's
Yeah.
purely ornamental.
Exactly. So in the digital world, the stagnant broadcaster spends all their energy decorating this huge gazebo, their social feed, where everyone can see them. But they haven't built the actual house attached to it.
So the audience just stands on the lawn, claps, and then goes home because there's literally nowhere else for them to go.
And that creates some very specific symptoms. Bates lists 3 of them. And I think we need to unpack these because they're dangerously easy to mistake for success.
Okay.
The first one she calls the applause trap.
This has to be the most seductive one. You see the likes, the comments saying, great point, and your brain just interprets that as business success.
It does. But Bates has a line that I think should be on a sticky note on every single monitor.
Mm-hmm.
She says, applause does not pay the mortgage.
It's such a harsh reality check. We treat vanity metrics like their currency, but, try paying Visa with likes and see how far you get.
You will not get very far. And relying on that applause leads directly to the second symptom, the hamster wheel.
Ah, yes.
Because you haven't captured the audience, because they're all just standing on the lawn, you feel this desperate pressure to just keep performing. You have to go live again, post again, do the dance again.
The second you start broadcasting, the business basically ceases to exist.
Which brings us to the third symptom, and this is the one that really hurts when you look at the actual data, the leaky bucket.
Okay.
Bates says that for stagnant broadcasters, something like 99% of viewers leave the stream.
Right.
And forget the creator even exists within minutes.
Minutes. That seems so fast.
It's instantaneous amnesia, because the journey ended when the video player stopped. There was no next step.
So what you're saying is we have fans, but we don't have clients.
And there's a massive, massive categorical difference. A fan is a spectator, a client is a participant. The whole point of this architecture is to bridge that gap.
Okay, so let's get the hard hats on. Let's look at how Bates proposes we actually fix the blueprint. She breaks the house down into 3 distinct zones. Layer 1 is the porch.
The porch. This is your exterior awareness layer.
So this would be your LinkedIn feed, your YouTube channel, your tweets, basically the public face.
Correct. The function of the porch is simply saying hello. It's the handshake. The problem is most creators treat the porch as the entire house. They just set up a cot and try to live there.
And Bates flags this as a huge strategic risk. She calls it algorithm ownership.
Yeah, this is that whole rented land concept we hear about. But she puts it in really stark terms.
Yeah.
If you live on the porch, the platform owns your business. If the algorithm changes tomorrow and your reach drops 80%.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. Or if you get banned, you're homeless. You don't own the audience, the platform does.
This leads to what she calls the infinite porch leak.
Right. This is where you see creators with like 10,000 followers, their videos get 500 views, tons of comments, and 0 email subscribers. They're just cycling people through the porch, waving at them, and watching them walk away.
Over and over again.
Over and over. So the strategic goal of the porch isn't to keep people there. It's to get them to open the front door.
Which brings us to layer 2, the foyer. This is where things get interesting because I feel like this is where most people get stuck.
Yep. Now we're stepping inside. The foyer represents the value trade mechanism. In traditional marketing, we'd call this the lead magnet or the opt-in.
Right. It's the exchange. I give you my contact info. You give me something that makes it worth my while. But Bates doesn't just say make a PDF. She actually walks through the execution. And she's using a pretty heavy-duty tech stack to do it.
She does. And I think this is crucial because a lot of people avoid building the foyer because they think it'll take too long. Bates detailed her whole process for creating her 2026 Revenue Ecosystem Blueprint ebook. She didn't spend 6 months staring at a blank page.
Right. She used AI to basically act as the architect for the content itself.
She used Gemini Google's AI to generate the whole outline. She just fed it her parameters and got the structure. Then she used Notebook LM to process her existing content and research to flesh it all out.
So she wasn't writing from scratch.
No, she was curating her own knowledge with AI as the processor.
That is a massive time saver. So in Gemini for the skeleton, Notebook LM for the muscle.
Exactly. Then she moved to Canva for the visual design and Adobe Acrobat to finalize the PDF. She treats creating the lead magnet not as this like magnum opus that takes a year, but as a rapid deployment of value.
However,
Yeah.
and this is where I think the most counterintuitive insight of this whole deep dive lives.
Yeah.
You can build a great foyer, you can use all those tools, you can get people to sign up, and you can still fail. Bates calls this the empty foyer leak.
This is the part that will make some listeners a little uncomfortable. The empty foyer is when you have a growing email list, people have stepped inside, but your revenue is flat. And the reason usually flies in the face of everything we've been taught about giving value.
We're talking about the nurturing to death concept.
We are. The prevailing wisdom for the last decade has been give, 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 ask. Jab, 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 right hook. But Bates argues you can actually give too much away for free.
Okay, play devil's advocate here. How is that possible? Isn't value the whole point? If I give you value, you trust me.
You trust me, yes. But do you hire me?
Yeah.
There's a difference between educational value and transformational value. Bates shares this story where people literally told her, I don't need to join your paid community because your free emails are so good, I get everything I need.
Oof, that is a compliment that bankrupts you.
It is the friend zone of business. You've satisfied their hunger with the free appetizer. They're full. Why would they ever order the main course?
So we're accidentally training our audience that they never need to pay us because we give away the entire farm in the newsletter.
Correct. And she links this to the reciprocity myth.
Mm-hmm.
We have this belief that if we're just helpful enough, if we give enough free PDFs and checklists, people will feel, obligated to buy from us out of gratitude.
Like an I owe you one situation.
Right. But Bates says that is unreliable data. Reciprocity usually scales to the level of a small favor. They might buy you a tea. They might share your post. They are not going to drop $5,000 on a consulting package just because you sent them a nice newsletter.
That's a crucial distinction. Gratitude doesn't convert to high-ticket sales. Solved problems do.
Exactly. If the foyer is too comfortable, you've put a couch and a TV in there, they never move to the next room. They just hang out.
Which forces us to move them to the most important room, the one that actually keeps the lights on. Layer 3, the vault.
The vault. This is the profit engine. This is where the transaction happens.
And Bates is very specific about what belongs in the vault. We're not talking about a $20 tripwire offer or a coffee mug.
No. She sets a very specific benchmark. The vault is for a high-ticket offer, specifically mentioning a $2,500 price point or higher.
Why that number? Why not start small?
Because of the math of the whole ecosystem. If you're going to do all the work of architecting, building the content on the porch, the lead magnet in the foyer, the email sequence, you need a backend that justifies that effort. A $20 ebook doesn't sustain a service business.
Not unless you have millions of people.
Exactly. For most experts, you need margin. It goes back to the difference between a fan and a client. A fan buys a sticker, a client buys a transformation.
Right. A foyer without a vault is just a waiting room. You're just collecting people. To make it a business, you have to actually ask for the sale. You have to create a clear path from that email sign-up to a strategy session or an audit.
She uses a fishing analogy here that's simple but really effective. She says you have to know where the fish are. You can't just sit on your porch with your fishing gear waiting for fish to swim up the driveway.
That's a funny image, but that is what we do when we just post content and hope.
It's exactly what we do. You have to go to the lake. She suggests using tools like LinkedIn Search, effectively finding people with specific titles who have the specific problem you solve, and then actively guiding them from that public square into your private vault.
Okay, so to recap the structure, we've got the porch for social awareness, the foyer for lead capture, and the vault for the high-ticket offer. But Bates points out that you can build this beautiful house, furnish it perfectly, and it can still be unlivable if the plumbing is broken.
The plumbing, yes. In this analogy, that's the tech stack. Specifically, the friction within the tech stack.
Oh, she goes on a bit of a rant about magic links here, doesn't she? And I have to say, I felt this in my soul. I hate magic links.
It was a very, very relatable rant. We have all been there. You want to join a community or book a call, you click a link, it takes you to a platform.
And the platform says, for security, we sent a magic link to your email.
So now I have to close the tab, open my email app, wait for the email, find the link, click it, go back to the browser.
And by that point, you've forgotten why you were there. You saw a notification from Instagram and you're just gone. Bates calls this friction the silent killer of revenue.
It seems so minor, though. An extra click. Does it really matter that much?
In the digital economy, every click is a leakage point. Her rule is the one-click rule. The journey from I'm interested to I'm booked must be seamless. If people can't find the button to book a call in under a minute, they just leave.
She mentioned some tools to fix this, like Book Like a Boss.
Right, tools that aggregate the scheduling, the payment, the confirmation, all on a single landing page. The opposite of this is the disconnected house. If the hallway between the foyer and the vault is full of obstacles, broken links, confusing forms, those magic link loops, nobody's going to make it to the vault. It's interesting how architecture really is the right word. It's all about flow. People need to move through the space without bumping into the furniture.
Design dictates behavior. If the design is cluttered, the behavior is abandonment.
So we've covered the diagnosis, the 3 layers, and the plumbing. But ultimately, Bates suggests this isn't just about downloading a new piece of software. It requires a fundamental shift in identity. She draws a line in the sand between being an influencer and being an architect.
This is the core mindset shift. An influencer chases likes. They build a stage for applause. Their currency is attention. An architect builds systems. They build a bank for revenue. Their currency is conversion.
It's the difference between performance and operations. One is a show, the other is a business.
It is. And to help you figure out which one you actually are, because we all like to think we're architects, Bates proposes a 3-second infrastructure audit.
I love a good audit. Let's run through this. I want everyone listening to answer these 3 questions honestly. No yes, but answers. Just a clean yes or no.
Okay. Question 1. Do you have a mechanism to move viewers to email?
Not do you ask them sometimes. Do you have a dedicated working mechanism?
Right. Question 2. Is your lead magnet valuable enough that someone would actually pay for it with their email address?
Meaning, does it solve a real problem or is it just some fluff piece about your life story?
And question 3. Do you have a $2,500 plus offer ready to sell right now?
Ready to sell. Meaning, if I called you today and said, take my money, do you have a contract and a checkout link ready to go?
And here's the kicker. Bates says any answer other than a definite yes is exactly where your revenue is leaking.
That's tough love.
It's necessary love. If you answered sort of to the lead magnet, that's a no. If you answered, I'm working on the offer, that's a no.
If you don't have the high-ticket offer, it doesn't matter how big your email list is. You're just nurturing people in a very crowded foyer.
And if you don't have the email capture, it doesn't matter how viral your video goes on the porch. The ecosystem relies on all 3 parts functioning together seamlessly.
It really highlights that hope is not a business strategy. You can't just hope people find their way from your viral tweet to your bank account. You have to pave the road.
You have to pave the road, put up the signs, and unlock the doors. You have to stop being afraid to ask for the sale. You have to eventually say, here is the vault. Here is the value. Here is the price.
So let's zoom out and look at the blueprint one last time. You start on the porch. That's your social. It's for saying hello, not for living. You invite them into the foyer with a killer lead magnet, something built for speed and value, maybe leveraging those AI tools. But you don't let them get too comfortable there.
No.
You guide them without friction to the vault, your high-ticket offer.
Precisely. You move from the applause trap to the profit engine. You stop counting likes and you start counting clients.
It transforms the whole idea of content creation from a performance art into a business operation.
It gives you control. And that is what architecture is all about. Control and design.
Yeah.
You aren't at the mercy of the algorithm anymore.
So here is the thought I want to leave you with today. It's a bit provocative, but based on everything we just discussed, it's the only question that really matters. If your favorite social media platform, the one where you spend all your time, the one where you get all your applause, if that shut down tomorrow, would you still have a business, or would you just have memories of a really great party?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving in with us. Now go build that vault.
See you next time.